Hello everybody and welcome to week 3 of BA220. This week we are going to keep building on our financial statement analysis. Hopefully this is starting to make a little sense to you. When you are looking at the financial statements, they can seem kind of complex at first and there is a lot to go into them. But the good thing about financial statements is they're pretty common the way that they're set up. You're not going to see a lot of changes. You might see some different accounts in there that other companies might not have. For example, a lot of depreciation. You're going to see that more at a manufacturing company than at a service company, but they're still going to have depreciation. But other than that, you're still going to have revenue minus expenses equals income, your statement of owner's equity, your balance sheet. A lot of those things are going to be common in every company. So to start off this week, let's go over what is due. Again, so we'll scroll down here to Module 3. You'll have your checklists and objectives and your lectures and readings. Obviously, you'll want to go over. And then you're going to have your lecture response, which you have to post after watching this. Again, please keep trying to get those in by Wednesday night to make sure that you get full credit. Then you're going to have your discussion question. On the discussion questions, I need to stress how important it is to have your initial post done by Wednesday and then respond to 2 additional posts by the end of Sunday night in order to get full points. If you don't do that, you can't get full points. You have to post everything on time and then make sure that you're giving good posts. And then you also have the Module 3 assignment. And this is where I'm going to spend most of the time on the lecture. So for this one here, we are going to move on to Coca-Cola. So we're done with Walmart. Hopefully you guys were able to get some good information from Walmart's financial statements. And you'll be able to build on that, like I said, as we start moving into Coca-Cola's. So on this one, we are going to focus on the balance sheet. And we are going to decide how much the assets of the company are worth by themselves. So you are just looking at the set assets, like things that Coca-Cola actually owns. On that bottom line, on the bottom line, you'll see right here it says, meaning without any calculation of goodwill. And this is, when I wish we were in a classroom setting so I could say, hey, who knows what goodwill is? But we're not in that setting, so let's talk a little bit about what goodwill is to try to bring that classroom mentality into it. So we have our book, the Financial Statement Analysis. Like I said, this is a great book and it has a lot of good information. If you go to the back on page 358, you'll have your glossary. And on this page, it talks about goodwill. And it says that goodwill is a balance sheet item. So again, we're looking at the balance sheet arising from accounting or business combination. So when one company goes out and buys another one, or when they join, when they have a merger, something like that. And it's representing the excess of the purchase price over the acquired company's tangible asset value. So if you pay a premium for the company, that's essentially your goodwill. So the glossary is really good on this, but then let's flip back up to the table of contents and see if that has any information that'll help us out on this paper. So I'm just on the first page here of contents. You'll see chapter 1 and then chapter 2, boom, right off the bat, the balance sheet. So this is going to be a good chapter to read. Make sure that you go over this. You'll see that there's going to be a section down here, how good is goodwill, starting on page 35. So I looked at this, as I was going through and looking at this section here, on that chapter in particular, page 35, it gives you an example and it'll kind of walk you through what goodwill is and how it can be calculated. It talks about company amalgamators and exactly how the goodwill, or how they've purchased a company and then how they have created some goodwill when they did that. So on this, when you're writing your paper, you're going to figure out what the real value of Coca-Cola is. And what we mean by that, so let's think about that for a second. So let's say that I go out and I buy Ford Motor Company. So just to make this simple, let's say that Ford Motor Company was worth $1 billion, and I went out and I paid $1.2 billion. Well, why would you do that? Possibly because I think that the company is worth more than that. Maybe it's undervalued in my opinion, or maybe I see a lot of potential growth, so I pay the premium to get it. You might need to outbid other people. So I get that. So I'll have my $200 million if I paid $1.2 billion on a $1 billion company, and I'll have my goodwill. That $200 million, it's just the same thing. Let's say that you go to buy a new car and your new car is $15,000 and that's what the book price is and that's what it should sell for. But you paid $17,000. you overpaid by $2,000. Why? Maybe you love the car. There's a lot of reasons, but you wanted it. So you paid that extra premium price of $2,000. Next week, you lose your job. You're trying to sell it for $17,000, but it's only worth $15,000. Me as a third party, I'm not going to pay you the $17,000. That's what you thought it was worth. So you have kind of that goodwill there. So is it an asset? Yes, but it's kind of your asset, if that makes sense. It's not necessarily something that somebody else is going to see as an asset. You're the one that's valuing that. So when you look at a balance sheet, goodwill is important because you want to look into it. You want to figure out why a company may have paid the premium, but it might not be worth it to you. You might only want to pay what it's worth. So hopefully that example kind of helped you walk through it. So when you're going through, you're going to look at the real value of Coca-Cola, it says, and how it and then how it compares to the value of the assets. The difference between the two involves goodwill, so be prepared to discuss that in detail. So we're not saying just to throw goodwill out the window. So let's say you go out there and you look at Coca-Cola's financial statements, you see what the goodwill is, and then you're going to say, well, it's worth X amount of dollars. Without goodwill, it's now worth X amount of dollars. And then you can talk about the goodwill a little bit, but then also talk about what the company is really worth. And then it talks a little bit about the current value of the company by using the stock price multiplied by the number of shares. Again, there's a lot of ratios in here, and the book has a lot of good ratios that'll help you with that. So as you're going through, please try to use those as much as you can. And also, you can just use the current stock price. So let's just say, as of today, the stock price, so let's say you're writing the paper, as of 8/4, the stock price is worth X amount of dollars, and there's X amount of shares. So you're going to go out and figure out what the value of the company is. On this one, again, so it's going to be 2 to 3 pages, typed, double-spaced, in APA format. Again, please try to use the APA format as much as you can. If you don't use that, I will have to deduct some points. We want to make sure that you know how to write. You'd be surprised once you get out there. There are very set styles. I never realized how important writing was, even as an accountant or an auditor. I thought it would be a lot more about numbers, but we write reports all day. So what we're trying to do with the APA format is to prepare you in your career to know how to write in kind of a more of a standard format. So make sure that it is in APA format, and then 2 to 3 pages. And 2 to 3 pages is not very much. So make sure that you get all of your information in there to be concise and to cover what you need to, but also make sure that you are giving your opinion. Something that I've seen in the past is a lot of people are just copying, pasting analysis from other investors or something that they're finding online at these finance websites, and then saying that whether they disagree or agree with it. We don't necessarily want to just see that. We want to see your opinion. We want to see that you are starting to understand the financial statements and how to read them and how to interpret them, because that's what this class is all about. And if you have any questions about that, please reach out to us. And you know what? If you go out and I can tell that you've done your analysis and maybe there's a couple of things are wrong, or maybe there's something that I disagree with. Maybe you think that you should buy the company, and maybe me, I personally don't. If I can tell that you've done your analysis, that's great. That's your opinion. You're interpreting your financial statements. If you're completely off base on your valuation because of a math error or something, well, then that's a problem. But if you come to a conclusion that's different than mine based on your analysis, you're not going to get docked points for that, because I can see, hey, this is somebody else's point of view. Maybe you think Coke is worth it. Maybe I don't think that Coke is worth it. So please try to include that as much as you can and support your opinion on some of these things and what you think the company is worth. And then that is pretty much it for the week. The main thing is just to make sure that you get your discussion posts done on time. Again, Wednesday and Sunday, watch this video, post your response by Wednesday as well. And try to make that 150 word limit if you can, and give as many details as you can. And then after that, dive straight into this paper and start going, because you need to make sure that it's 2 to 3 pages and that you are covering everything related to the valuation of the company, with and without goodwill, but mainly without goodwill, because we want to see you take that out and express your opinion. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to shoot me an email or give me a call, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. So again, thanks for a good part of the first class, and keep up the hard work, and let us know if you have any questions. Thank you.